Hello there, welcome to another tutorial with Beads Jar. I'm Natalia and today I'm going to take you through a tutorial to show you how to make this beautiful star ring, and I'll be using GemDuo components. So they are 2-holed beads that enable you to create some really interesting designs, and in this case a ring that looks like a star. And then we have a ring band using peyote stitch. So let me take you through all of the things that you're going to need to make this project. Here are all of the ingredients that you are going to need to make this GemDuo Star Ring. So our most important component is the GemDuo 2-hole beads, and these are in Gold Shine and Yellow Sun. So we're going to use a lot of these today, so we've got plenty in our little tube of GemDuos. The next component is some size 11 galvanized yellow gold color Peyote seed beads. Then I am going to be showing you some peyote stitch for the band of this ring, and I like to use the Quick Start Peyote cards by Deb Moffat Hall, so I'm using one of those. We're going to be using a size 10 beading needle, some Fireline in 6 pound, and I'm using the smoke colour. I've got a ring mandrel, that's to help me to form my ring and to measure the ring shank, but you can use anything, you know. I see people using marker pens that are the right width for the ring that they need. So anything round that you can use like a mandrel would do. And then some wire cutters just to cut the fire line. So let's get started on our project. So first of all, you're going to need 6 of these GemDuo beads, and what I want to just show you is that they have a back and a front. So the back is flat, it has a slight little marking down the center, but the front of them has this faceting. It's like a diamond faceting. So that is going to be the front of our ring. So we want to make sure that when you're threading these, they're all facing the right way up. And I have cut off a piece of Fireline that's about 40 centimeters long, and I've pre-threaded it on my size 10 beading needle. So let's thread on 6 of these GemDuos, and I'm going to thread them like that all onto my needle at the same time, so I can just double check that I'm doing them the right way round, because these are really easy to slide on and then you suddenly realize that you've got them back to front. So top tip is to put them all on your needle at once to make sure you've got the right way round, and then pull them all down towards the end of your thread. And then we're going to leave a bit of a tail on there, so about 6-8 centimeter tail. And you're just going to tie an overhand knot to start with to create a circle, or like a star shape actually, when or a flower shape when those come together. Don't they look beautiful? So I'm going to tie another couple of overhand knots just to secure those in place. So taking the tail, and then I'm going to just go around, just make sure that you're securing your knot right in the center, not on the outside of your little shape that you've created. And we'll do one more just for good luck to make sure that we've got the security that we need. Pull that tight. Now I'm just going to leave that tail there, because we will use that at the end to secure our threads. And then I'm going to turn that over. So we're always going to be working with those faceted side upwards. So the next thing that we're going to do is just take your needle up through the center of the little star shape and take a seed bead, and one of the Peyote size 11s, and just thread your needle through it, and then take your needle back through the center. And that is going to be like our little centerpiece there. So I'm going to take the thread upwards along the side of here, and I'm going to take my thread back through and down again through the center, just to make sure that that is securely in place there. And then I'm going to start adding some little seed beads around the edges here. So I want my thread to come up and through this top hole. So you'll see there's 2 holes in these beads, which makes them magnificent little design features because we can do all sorts with it. So I'm going to bring in my size 11 seed beads. I'm going to take one onto my needle, and then I'm going to thread the needle through the next hole in the subsequent point of this star. So there you get this lovely little beaded effect in between each one. And so you're just going to do that all the way around. Just taking those through. Until you get round to the other side. Just keep my tail thread out of the way there. So we've just got the last 2 to go in. Okay, so we started off at the beginning, so we're just going to take it back through that very first hole that we began. And we're going to bring some more of the GemDuo beads in. So remember, we need to make sure we've got the faceted side upwards. And I'm going to insert another GemDuo into this little cavity here. So I'm going to take my needle through the base hole there. Just pop it in. And then I want to take my needle through the little Miyuki that is alongside it. So don't worry if these flop about a little bit, because that is what happens to these, unfortunately. And we will get them all rigid later on. And then we're going to add another another GemDuo bead here. So again, you're going through the bottom hole, making sure that you've got the faceted side facing upwards, and it's just sitting in there. So 2 of those are sitting within one cavity of the star, and then your needle is going back through the next point on that star shape. So I'll just do this a couple more times. And I want to make sure that my other thread isn't getting in the way. Okay, so be careful that you don't, see what I've done here is I've just overlapped my thread. I'm just going to take it through. You just have to do this slowly and carefully. So now you've got those 2 inside that little well that's inside the star there. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you're just going to take another GemDuo, thread through the bottom hole. This is the most tricky part, where everything wants to go all over the place. And then you're going to take your needle through the little gold Miyuki. Pull everything so it's reasonably tight, and then take another GemDuo, and that goes through there like that. Okay, and then we're going to go through the hole at the top of the next star point. So I'm just going to keep on doing that all the way around until we get to the other side. So you want 2 of those within each of those little V shapes, and then I will come back when I've completed that part. So I've completed that row of those GemDuos, and now we just need to insert a little bead in between each of those, just like we did right at the beginning. So I'm going to take my thread up to the top hole of this GemDuo, just pull it through so that we're in the right position to begin that, and then I'm going to pop a seed bead onto there. Now this bit is really important because we're going to change the tension of this piece. At the moment it's all kind of floppy, and we're going to tighten it up and we're going to make it into this rounded shape to create the ring top. So as I pass my needle through the top hole in that GemDuo that's alongside, I'm just going to pull my thread and pull it quite tight. So I'm going to pick this up and do that quite tight, and it will start to form the shape that we need. You can see we've got the shape that we want now. I'm just going to pull the thread, pull it quite tightly, and that is really making that much firmer. And I also want to just take my needle all the way around. So I'm taking it through the top hole in those GemDuos and through the seed beads. I'm going to do that. Okay, so that is the top of our ring nearly finished, and we're going to add like a little skirt onto the bottom. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So we're going to have these little embellishments all the way around each of the points that we've got on that second row. Now these are decorative, but they're also really brilliant for helping you to sew the ring shank on. So they have a dual purpose, but they look very pretty as well. So I'll bring some more of my seed beads over here, and then we'll begin to do this little embellishment. So my thread is coming through the top of our last GemDuo in that second row. So I'm going to pick up 3 of my Mayuki seed beads, and then I'm going to take my needle through the opposite hole where the thread is coming out. And I'm going to take it through the little Mayuki alongside and through the top hole of the next one. And you'll see why in a second. So what happens there is you get like this little crown on the top of that one. And then we're going to take 3 more Mayukis, load them up onto my needle, and then you're in the right position for your next GemDuo. So oops, let's find the hole. There it is. So I'm going to take my needle through the other side of the hole, through the next Mayuki, and through the top of the next GemDuo. Come out the other side of it. And then you can see we're adding the little embellishment on each one. So I'll do that one more time so you can see what I'm doing. And your needle's in exactly the right position that you need it to be. So you're just going to go through the opposite hole, which I can't see here. Oops, where is it? Okay, there we go. I'm just going to take it back through there because that one's a little bit tighter than the others. I couldn't get it through all of the beads there, so I'm going to take it through that Mayuki at the side and through the next GemDuo top hole. So you're going to continue adding those 3 seed beads all the way around, and then when you're done, we will have completed this first part of the ring and we'll start making the ring shank. So we're going to begin making the band or the shank of the ring. So you want to measure using a ring mandrel exactly how wide you want your band to be. Mine is like 20 rows long, using the size 11 seed beads, and I'm going to be using this Quick Start Peyote card by Deb Moffat Hall to start off my peyote. Now, this is a laser cut card. We have a product review of this showing you exactly what to do and how to use it in our product review video, so you can check that out. But I'm using it for starting my peyote off here because it's just such a really quick and easy way to do it. And so I'll get that out of the way and I'll show you how to get started. So I've taken about 40 centimeters of fire line and I'm going to pop a stop bead on. So I'm taking that down to the end and I'm leaving a really decently long tail here because we're going to need to finish off the ring shank with it. So I'm leaving about 8 centimeters and I'm just going to tie a knot in the end of there. I didn't tie the knot on the end of there, let me do it again. The fire line is blending into the foam background. There we go. So I've just done a little knot in there, and I'm going to take my Quick Start Peyote card. So each one of these is for different size beads, so I'm using the size 11s, and the reason why is because these holes here, they're laser cut, they're precision cut, so if you use one that's too big or too small, then the beads will fall through or they won't sit right. So this is done specifically for size 11s. So you start by turn your card over and you go up through that hole on the right hand side. And what that does is it just keeps your little stop bead in place. So you can not worry about that then. And then you're going to take your needle up. So once you've got your thread through that hole there, you're going to take your needle down through the hole that is the first hole on the row at the top of the card. And you don't want to crease the card, you just want to have it folded over. And these can be used again and again. I'll show you how. We don't want to cut anything off when we've finished. I'm just going to use this one again. And then you're going to take your needle up through that. It looks like a little bit like a house, that kind of shape. That's the first groove, the first opening, first proper opening. Make sure that you've got your thread tight there, and then I'm going to thread on a seed bead onto my needle, and so the thread is coming up through there, and I'm just going to take my needle back down through there as well, that same hole. And then my yuki will sit there, so you have to make sure that you hold it shut, because if I open it, that bead is going to pop through. So I'm going to take my needle back up through the next one. So you've got to decide how wide you want your band to be, and I am going to do it 4 wide. So again, we're going to take that bead back through. Now when I do start peyote on my own, just using my hands and the beads and the thread, I always find that getting the tension right is a little bit tricky, and it starts wanting to get too tight and curve, and so I find these cards absolutely brilliant for that. Why labour away trying to do it by yourself when you've got these tools that you can use? So I'm taking another one, going down through that one. So remember, we're doing 4. And this will be my last one. It's coming up through the last groove, taking the seed bead and then going down this peyote. Okay, so the next thing that I need to do is to take my needle back up through the next groove, but we're going to start the next row here, we're not going to start another row. So I find it easier to flip the card over and work in the same direction. So because we want an even count peyote, so to start our next row, what we're going to do is take a seed bead and then go through. This is because we've got an even count. We're going to go through that bead there, that first bead. Take another seed bead and you'll see that you naturally will just go through the next one. And we're going to go through the next one. Just pulling that. If it gets a little bit loose, you can just tighten. But you don't have to, you don't seem to have to keep as much of an eye on the tension with this card, because it just seems to, the beads sit really nicely on it. And so there we have our next row. We're going to turn over. And again, we're just going to repeat the process, just adding more rows. So you're going to start with another seed bead on your needle, and that is going to sit directly on top of the first one. So you're going to take that bead there. I always find the first bead that you add on always gets a little bit loose, so you might need to hold on and just pull a little bit to get your tension right. And we'll turn over, and you'll see that building up really nicely, and those little beads are standing up to attention there, really easy for you to identify. So the first couple of rows, not so much, but when you get to the third row, it's a lot easier to identify. So that is my peyote ring band, the process for doing that, quick and easy process. And here is one that I had created already, just so you can see the finished product. And we've got 20 rows that I've done there. So I'm going to show you how to unhook this from the card. It's very simple. So the first thing that you want to do is to just hold onto your stop bead and slide it off. This is why you don't want to knot it too tightly. Then just use a pair of pliers actually to help me, or we can use the beading needle. Actually, that would be better. Beading needle, and then flip that thread out there, flip it from underneath, and you're basically just going to release the thread from under here, and that is going to remove one of the rows. And then there we have our ring band, and we've also got the card intact, so I can use that again. So now I'm going to show you how to attach your ring band to your completed ring topper. So this is the completed ring band, and I have taken my needle, and this was the end thread that we just had, and I want to get rid of it. I wanted to cut that off, so I put my needle on, and then I'm just going to take it back through that bead there and that one, take it through to the end, and I'm going to take my needle through the other side of that bead there, and I'm just going to wrap the loop of the thread around it just to tie it off. I'm going to take my thread back through that bead and do the same, just wrap the thread around it. This is why you need to leave a decent length of tail so that it can be nicely fastened off. I'm wrapping one more time around there. And then I'm going to just chop that thread off. Okay. So I've got quite a good long length of thread on the other side. So this is where I'd finished my last row of peyote when it was on the card. And now we're going to attach this to the ring. So you need to decide where you would like your ring band to go, and I think it's going to sit perfectly there in between. So we've got one of those little GemDuo points there in the middle. So I'm going to go in first of all through that Miyuki bead right there. You can find the hole for it. Alright. And then I'm going to take my thread down into the next bead on the band, the ring band. Just make sure you're pulling that tight all the time. I'm going to go up through the next Miyuki. We're just going to keep on doing that so that you're doing the attaching of the band to the top of the ring. And this is where the decoration comes in really handy. And that is literally it. So just looking underneath, seeing where my next thread can go there. And then I'm just going to go back underneath. So I'm turning the ring upside down. I'm going to go back along now, back through those beads, and just making sure that they are really well attached. Now you can do this 3 times if you wish. It would be a really good idea to do that, so that, because as the ring is going on and off the finger, it does get a little bit of wear and tear, so that is where the ring shank can come away. And so if we were going to leave it there, okay, I would just take let's turn it over, it's easier for me to show you. Take my needle back up through that Miyuki that's at the side of it, and then down into that bottom one, like that. Okay, and then along to the next one, and then just do like a little knot by taking the thread over the top of the needle and just pull it tight. And then I'm just going to go down into that little Miyuki there and pass the thread again over the top of it and pull it tight again. And then one last time, just to make sure that we are completely securing that thread. And then when I've done that, I'm just going to snip it off. Okay, so that's one side of the band done. Then to do the other side, what I would recommend is to bring your mandrel or whatever you've used to measure your ring with, to pop it over and then to just use it to prop that up, and then you can get it aligned a lot more easily, because that's the hardest part of sewing the ring band on, is really making sure, let's bring some of those little beads upwards, making sure that you get it placed just where you need it. And you can see there, then we've got these beads all lined up ready to receive the ring shank. Okay, so I've threaded some new thread onto my needle, and because we're starting off again, so let's just position that and see where we want to have. Okay, so I'm going to go in through that bead on the end, first of all, at the top of the shank, and I'm just going to take my thread back around the bead and pass the thread over the top of the needle, so that's creating a knot. I'm going to go along to the next bead on the shank, and I'm going to take the thread again over the top. So that gives us a bit of security. And just pull those beads forward so we can see when we want to attach them. Just checking the other side of the ring and making sure that it's lined up and it's as much in the middle as possible. So then I'm going to take my thread, needle, through that first miyuki there. So I'm to join those two together. Take it into the next miyuki on the ring. It's just got caught on the top of that bead there. So then that starts to join together. I'm just going to get that tail thread out of the way. So the tail just getting in the way a little bit. And it's just a very careful process, just moving it along the shank and making sure that everything's tightened up there. So I want to go into this little miyuki bead that is on the ring top itself, and then work my way along the band, the beads on the band. Pulling and tightening as I go along. And it is a little bit tricky, but you'll get there. So that is my next bead, this one here. I'm just going to take it into that one that is further down in the band. Just beware of your little tail thread there. So we've got one more stitch, and that will complete the connection of those two components of the ring. So one thing I've noticed is I've got this kind of gap between those two, so just have a look and see. You determine. I'm just going to move that around so you can see it. What you want to connect, and so it looks right, so that there's no kind of gap, so that I feel a lot better about having it like that. And I'm just going to come up through that bead and there like that. Okay, so that looks a lot better now. And then I am going to just, to make that as secure as possible, take my thread back through those beads, and I just want to get my thread along to the end so that I can meet up with the tail thread. So just taking it underneath. And then through that bead there. To get to the end of the ring. So now my 2 threads are alongside one another, and I can just tie a knot in them before I snip both of them off. Or if you've got a thread burner, you can use that as well. So I'm going to knot it a couple of times and then just snip those threads there. So there we have our completed ring. So I'll just pop that on and show you how pretty that looks. So you can just pull those little decorative beads out to make sure that it looks as beautiful as how you created it. Now I also made this in the red colour as well. So these GemDuos come in lots of different colours, so you can do whichever colour you like. So I did red because I thought that looked a little bit like a poinsettia. And with this one I did a slightly wider ring shank, so I did 6 count peyote with that, which looks equally good. But there you have it. So 2 different rings, 2 different colours, but a really nice design. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed it today. All of the items that you'll need for this can be found in the drop-down menu below, and links to our website. So I do hope that you will comment, like, share this video, and also subscribe to our channel, because we have loads more tutorials for you and also lots of product reviews too. So join me again for another tutorial very soon. Bye for now.